that's that moment where you kind of as a viewer are like, oh, okay, cool, I'm about to find out what's up. And he's just like, they are super greedy, and greed makes you crazy. It's like
they're crazy and greedy.
Right.
And
it's like
they crazy as hell.
Hello, welcome to Survivor's Ed, How to Not Die First in a Horror Movie. I'm Chris.
I'm Tawny.
I'm Miles.
And we are two blacks and a Mexican, and may they burn in hell forever and ever.
Absolutely.
If you know what that's from, then you're ready for this show. So this is a show about horror movies that we love, movies that scare us or scared us when we were kids that we get to revisit now. And talk about sort of not just what happens in the movies, but what happens to the people of color in those movies, because we all know what happens to people of color in those movies. And then we talk about sort of what rule for survival we can come up with based on what happens to our people in those movies. So if my little teaser didn't get you, the movie that we're talking about is The People Under the Stairs. This is a 1991 film written and directed by Wes Craven, starring Brandon Adams, Ving Rhames, and everybody else. Bill Cobbs is in there. Right. You know,
and I will die on this hill. The two of the best movie villains of all time.
Yeah.
Everett McGill as the man and Wendy Roby as the woman. There's nobody fucking creepier than those two people.
Oh, yeah.
And if you watch Twin Peaks, I don't know if people are Twin Peaks fans, but I was not a huge Twin Peaks fan. I kind of came into it later and got into David Lynch a little bit later, but I think what I've read is like the reason that they were cast in this role was because of Twin Peaks and because of the just like the men, like just like their chemistry in that role. So in Twin Peaks, Everett McGill is a Big Ed, like he's this sort of benevolent figure, and Wendy Roby plays Nadine, like his crazy ass wife who he married out of guilt when he like shot her eye out or something. Have you guys watched Twin Peaks? Like, so they're.
I guess I am now.
They're a married couple, and like she's fucking full on nutballs, and she has an eye patch in the show. Like Wendy Roby is the woman, right? Like the crazy bitch who like, and she like, there's this. She comes up with this like this way to like make curtains that don't squeak when you open them. Like it's so dumb and silly, but like. But they're so great, and I think I read that he wanted them for that role or for those roles because of that relationship that was developed in Twin Peaks, and they fucking deliver. Like Everett McGill is menacing and he's a big old dude, and like when he's dancing, I got him. Yeah. Like he's so like unhinged and great and creepy, and she like, and this woman Wendy Roby like. I can't think of a creepier fucking villain. Like she has this like her face. Like she's so cold. Yeah. Like she's got these great lines. Like she has this great like very square jaw, like statuesque, like you said, statuesque face, and she's completely menacing, like head to toe. She is there to preserve order. And like everything about her hairdo, like her perfect lipstick, her hairdo, like her dresses that she wears that are very like 1950s, like housewife, is wonderful. And so I think like these are two of the greatest villains I've ever seen in horror, and I just want to like celebrate that because they're so wonderful. Sorry, I went off a little bit there. But I love these guys. Like I love them.
Let me pause to just give a quick summary of the of what People Under the Stairs kind of is for folks who haven't watched it in a while or haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, please watch it before you listen to our show because we're gonna spoil it like crazy. But basically, People Under the Stairs is about some slumlords who are running the hood into the ground, and they own a bunch of property. They're trying to get everyone evicted so they can tear it down for their kindling, and they're crazy. And this young kid, Fool, who's part of a family, who's like the last family left in this building, is his mom's dying, is like everything is not going great, and he meets a a very shady Ving Rhames, and,
an abusive, shady Ving Rhames,
a very shady Ving Rhames, who convinces him to go after them by robbing them, and they hatch a plot to rob the home of this family, the Robesons. Is it Robesons or Robesons?
I want to say Robeson. Yeah.
Robesons. To rob this family, the Robesons, and craziness ensues because, as the title reveals, there are people under the stairs. So that's kind of the situation, right? Is there anything I've left out that we want to touch on before we dive in?
The social commentary is heavy here, so it's not.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's not something that I like actively remember either from like obviously as a kid. I used to watch this movie like all the time as a kid, like, which is probably not a kid movie or whatever, but yeah, you know,
Probably
like
not.
90s type shit. But yeah, like they're like, those villains are incredible. Like they're just and completely insane. Like there's no other way to even describe it. They're just like completely insane. I love their performances. Isn't he like I believe he was the werewolf from Silver Bullet.
In Silver Bullet.
Bullet, yeah.
And he's in there's a couple. So I'm a big Dune fan, right? Like Dune, the science fiction. So the David Lynch version, he's in that too. Like so he's a David Lynch sort of staple. Like he shows up in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they're great. Like obviously like Fool. Like I don't know how like I said, I think I said that before. Like I just wanted to be that dude like when I was a kid, like in the night. Cuz I feel like he was like in everything. He was in he was in Moonwalker.
He's in Moonwalker.
Michael Jackson. Yeah. Like
Annie, are you okay?
Yeah, he was just like a cool ass little kid, and he was black. I was like, yeah, I could be him. Yeah, he was dope. Like I don't remember like how petty Ving Rhames was until I like watched this movie. I just didn't remember. And what was what's the white dude's name that was with them?
Spencer.
Yeah.
Spencer.
Random. Yeah.
We were laughing because we were watching it, and Fool would say something about like, man, I don't know if we should go in there. You know, we should probably chill out or whatever the case is. And then like Ving Rhames, like everything was related to how Spencer was like about to get away with the gold and shit. Like we just, every time he brought it up, it was like, did you hear that sound? It's like, yeah, it's probably Spencer ass up there counting all the gold coins or whatever. And then it'll be like something to fall down in the kitchen, like, yeah, that's Spencer ass in there right now, probably finding all like, yo, maybe he is like.
How about he's dead in the cellar right now? How about that?
I have a rule. Yeah. I have a rule like where if I go into a room and I call you multiple times and you don't answer me any of the times, I'm like, all right, okay, maybe they got headphones on or they're dead. Like that's my two options.
Or they're dead.
Like, and the part that was funny to me is like Fool like goes exploring and then goes down. He ends up downstairs and he's like, Spencer, you down here? Spencer. Yeah. And then everything, he just kept seeing more shit that would say like, okay, maybe get out of the basement. Yeah. He would see like a person run across the screen like, Spencer, is that you? Like, no, that's
why would he do that?
Chewed up hand.
And then I laughed even harder because when he found him and he was clearly dead, he was like, Spencer,
come on, man.
Boy, get out. Come on, man.
His hand is like chewed up.
Yeah, his hand was like chewed up.
His hair is completely white. Like,
I was like, yo, this dude is dead as fuck, man. Like, what's wrong with this kid? Like,
His eyes were even open still. Like he's not in any way alive.
The only part that I was missing from that scene was Ving Rhames being with him, so he could be like, "There goes Spencer ass right there," like counting all the coins on the ground in the afterlife or something. Like it's just like. It just is like everything was about Spencer.
Well,
like,
even when he went to go report to Leroy about Spencer, and Leroy behaving very mysteriously like a dead person in that moment.
Yeah, that was so weird. Yeah,
he's just laying there so still. Like, how long are you looking down that thing? Yeah. And he he finally gets his attention, and he's like, "Where's Spencer at?" And he's like, he's like, "He's dead." What did he say? And then he's like, he
thought he was white before. You should see that sucker now. And I'm like, that's pretty casual way for a child who's seen a dead body,
right? Like quipping about it.
He's making a joke about it. He's joking about a white.
Which I guess makes sense. Like if you base it off the conditions that he lives in, there's probably
But then why did he know Spencer was dead?
That's what I was like when they show him going to his house. I had so many issues with that scene where he's like coming in, walking in the house or whatever, and he's going through the hallways, and there's just mad shit going on. That's this is
crazy.
Really how y'all black people live.
Yeah. It was like
dog fights, in random. I don't even know what that space was.
It was like an orgy of hood.
Yeah, it was just 10,000 people in the hallways. I thought y'all was the last family living here, man.
Yeah.
Where's all these people?
And they're all, "Oh, fool, you got evicted?" And I'm like, "What? You got evicted? What are you talking about? Why are you talking shit to him?"
Yeah.
If there's all these people. Yeah, no, totally. It was ridiculous. And a dog fight, in the fucking beginning of The Exorcist, right? These dogs fighting. What are you? What's happening here?
I like how when you said dog
responded to the word dog and was like,
my dog is barking at people.
One thing I do I love the way there's something that I never noticed. Obviously, I haven't watched this movie since I was a kid. Y'all probably have both watched it more than I have. I remember watching it as a kid and not having watched it at all until now. Since then, and it's interesting because my memories of this movie are very different from what the movie actually is. In my memory, the people under the stairs are the scary people. You know what I mean? And that's in my head because I saw this movie. I was super young, and I just remember, oh yeah, it's one where the people are running around and making weird noises and snatching people, and so I knew going in that it actually wasn't that because I do remember I was like, oh yeah, there was a crazy couple and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But then upon watching it, I'm like, man, this is okay. The commentary, yeah, like you said, Miles, it's stuff I never would have even began to pick up on back then, but it's super in your face. And it's fun because the filming of it all has that Wes Craven aura to it. The score even has those little sort of synth things that remind you of Nightmare on Elm Street a little bit in some points, and just the tone and the feel of it. It has the perfect vibe to me. I don't know how to describe it, but and the house is genuinely creepy. When Absolutely. They do those Dutch angles in the hallways, and he comes running out, and Daddy's right behind him, and sort of it's almost cartoonish how he goes indoors and then Fool comes out and then he goes in, but it's filmed in such a way that it's genuinely full of tension. That's probably my favorite scene in the movie is when he's getting chased by Daddy early on and he ducks in the bathroom and they, it's just such a tense moment. He's trying to decide whether to go in because it's at that point in the movie, you're okay, this dude's chasing me. There's some creepy dude in the thing. There's the choice you got to make is which entity do you want to deal with right now? It's just such a great, well constructed thing.
I almost want to pair this with the movie Us, right? I think I think people went to see Us expecting it to be as easy to read as Get Out, and were given something that wasn't as easy to read. And I almost want to, like, I feel like these two movies go together, and that they're about, like, the things that, like you said, like, you're not expecting who the villains are here necessarily. Like, they're, and the point is that the villains are these, like, these people who, like, are sitting on their wealth and hoarding it like dragons, and like watching their, like, and exploiting the neighborhood to squeeze as much wealth out of it as it can, and at the same time, like, passing judgment and considering themselves to be elevated above these people because they have money. And that's challenged by this movie. And I think you know, like I don't know what was in Wes Craven's head necessarily when he, like, sat down to put this together, but I admire this effort, and I wish that more people, like, because I feel like people haven't seen this movie, like, as much as, say, like, Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like, that's the famous Wes Craven, but it's such a fun, like, and this is one that my sister, my little sister has been pushing us to do for a while now, and she's like, you got to do it, because this is like a family classic. It's one of those, like, that we watch over and over again. And
which one of y'all had the crush on Brandon Adams?
Well, I am the one, like, I think I'm about the same age. I think we're almost exactly the same age. So I watched him in everything. Like, I remember when fucking Polly came out with Keisha Knight, Pulliam, and, like, you know, like, I watched that shit, like, because I loved Pollyanna. And he played, like, Jimmy Bean in that. Like, I've seen everything this fucking kid has been in. So I think, yeah, like, like, I wanted to be, like, and, you know, I'm a girl or whatever, but, like, I wanted to be in that role too. Like, I didn't want to be the girl. I wanted to be that kid. You know, like, I wanted to be the one having the adventures.
That's what I was like. It was something about him that, like, I thought I was, like, maybe the only one. Like, I just wanted to be him for some reason. Like,
a perfect avatar.
Yeah. Like, you could just go along with him. Like, I do have some questions. Like number one, like, I'm not an architect. I've never built a house in my life, but this is the most fascinating house I've ever seen in my life. Like, our house is actually built this way where you can just,
you guys,
like,
come out
tunnel
here,
through the walls and go through them and just open up the wall and walk into it. And
that house is a real house. That house is a real house in the West Adams district. If you guys come out here, come visit. We're gonna do a tour of all the movies we've talked about. We'll go to, and we haven't done Back to the Future, but I'll take you to Whittier High School and stuff. But the inside's a set. Yeah, the outside is a real house, but the inside's a set, from what I understand.
Right, because no house has all of those trap doors and things. It's like a Scooby-Doo house. It's like there's mad, like, the door swings around. If you lean up too hard on it, you swing around and you're in another room somewhere. And it's like, what the hell type of house is this that you could just go? Like, and I'm saying, like, they could go into anywhere. It was like Super Mario World, like the light in the kitchen, you could go up into a tunnel and just take you to wherever the hell you wanted to go in the house.
It was so hilarious at the end when all the people were coming out of everything. They're coming out of the cabinets and stuff. It's like,
that's my other thing is, like, okay, so I guess movies, and maybe we don't fully know what happens to people when they're deprived of sunlight. I don't know, like they just completely de-evolve. Because is that what happened in The Descent?
I was gonna say, like, we've had multiple movies now.
We have multiple movies where, like, when people don't have sun, they pretty much just turn into monsters. Like what? Like, what's happening?
Vitamin D deficiency.
Yeah, because as a kid, I never understood. Like, now that I'm watching it as a kid, I just thought they were like monsters or whatever. I don't know. Like, and they just happen to be, like, nice at the end.
They all turn into Gollum. Yeah, that's what I think.
But they're just people, right? That they kidnapped over years and put down there. Wouldn't they just be people? But, you know, like vitamin D deficient or whatever. Like, they would just be malnourished, but they wouldn't
really
turn
bad
into, like,
scurvy. They just have scurvy real bad. Like, they're no vitamin.
Because that one, the one main guy, not Roach, but the other
Oh, the
guy,
Stairmaster.
He's like literally like a monster. Like he's
He's almost got the prosthetics on his face almost make you think of Dusk Till Dawn-ish kind of.
yeah. He looks he looks like a vampire or something. Like why like why does that happen? Like you would definitely be malnourished, but you would still be human. Like they can't speak. Like
you know what's weird? He
he
also has very clearly like well kept hair. Like I was looking at like
his hair is great.
His face is like scary. But then he has like kind of feathered.
His hair is like feathered and shit.
So it's like, okay, all right, cool.
Better hair than I've
I
ever
see you,
had.
Stairmaster.
Because I suppose maybe I needed more like backstory on like, okay, were these like infants that they took and they never taught how to like speak or whatever, or were they like just kids that they found?
Well,
brought down here and were kept here for a long period of time.
That's the idea. Like that's the idea is that they took them when they were young and they let them go feral because they weren't perfect or whatever. Like that's the conceit, I guess.
But so they were like all two then when they were kidnapped, because like if they were like fool's age or if they were like 8 or whatever age, like they would all still be down there being able to communicate with each other, right. Like just like the way they were. Like,
and then who knows what parts were cut out too though. Like we're told that like we know Roach's tongue is cut off, right? Like he can't talk.
Yeah, and that made sense for me for Roach because like he could still obviously communicate,
but like a person.
He still seemed pretty much human. They must have got him recently or something. Like he had only been there for like 2 years or something because he was still like,
I like how
he was
like
weird. He was dirty. He was just dirty as hell. Like, but he, you know.
And there's something problematic, I think, in what Wes Craven is saying about boys, right? Like, Alice is the perfect girl child. Like, she's obedient but even I think even in its problematicness, like I think there's a comment on the way that like we raise girls to be sort of obedient and follow rules, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And like she tells Fool, like mommy and daddy looked for a perfect boy child, but like they couldn't ever get them to completely submit, you know. And she does submit. And I think part of the story and part of what I find now that I don't think I appreciated before when I watch it is Alice, and her name's Alice, right? Like she's Alice, like Alice in Wonderland. Like that's is her coming through in the end. Like she's the one that she drops down out of the ceiling.
Like Catwoman, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
like
such a weird ass.
It's weirdly epic.
She just smashes her face into the floor, and it's like you want her to do that. Like the first time around when Fool's escaping, right? Like he jumps into the pond or whatever, and then later they can't use that pond anymore. But she's so scared, like because she doesn't know anything else. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge Alice's growth as a character, and but also to say that like I think it is a little bit problematic that. Like, I guess Wes Craven's idea is that girls will follow the rules and boys won't. And if that is true, it's because of socialization. Like, I want to say, like, you know, I want to say that, you know, like, it's because of socialization as opposed to, like, nature or whatever.
The one scene that always, like I struggled with was like the scene where she like tries to put her in that bath and the water's wild hot. I'm like, whoo, that water hot. like she like trying to throw her in the tub and the water just looked like it's on fire.
Yeah. There's all this steam coming up.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah. And she's like trying to clean her because she's dirty now, and which is, I mean, there's a bunch of undertones to that statement. Some black kid that you came into contact with, and now he's basically like taking your purity away, and now you're you know you're not worth as much as you were before because you were in contact with him, which you know is fucked up. Like, oh, okay, yeah, like which is how they view the people that you know are in the buildings that they own anyway. They're kind of disposable to them. They're like,
absolutely, well, and they use the word, right? Like there's that scene where he's like, some, you know, N-words rob the liquor store or whatever. Like we get that very early on that they are racist. like, and they are, the only interest that they have in this community is how much resources they can suck out of the community, before they eventually leave it or like do what slumlords do, right?
I got an issue with like the portrayal of like every black person in this movie is sort of struggling and robbing and plotting to like, and granted they did have Spencer, who was a white guy that was, you know, he was associated with all the malfeasance going on, but like all of the black people in this movie are like terrible ass like people, like immoral as fuck. Like, yeah,
not Bill Cobbs.
Yeah, except for like obviously the two main villains are, you know, horrible people, but all the black people in this movie, there's not one, like I would have liked to seen one person that was like able to, you know,
it was just his family. Like his family was the only like pretty like morally kind of, you know.
Well, I did like that they show up. Like they're the ones that they're making they're doing a community. Political, yeah, they're like they're taking a political stance in the last parts of the movie and stuff. But
it is kind of questionable because you're like, those ain't the same people that were in the hallways.
It's not. That's what I was saying. Like all of the people that were in the hallways were like mad, like all on crack or whatever. Yeah. And like, like I don't know what they were doing. And then the people that showed up is like a normal black community of
right. It was like the lean on me people versus like
the kids that they kicked out of the school.
Yeah, or like that hallway was like the 2.0 version. You remember that scene in Home Alone 2 when he's walking down the sidewalk and like everybody's scary? Like there's like a homeless guy and he's like, watch it get up. Like that hallway was like that scene.
It would have been nice to have it. Yeah. It would have been nice to have a little bit more like continuity between those two.
It's like, why? Like, like, listen, I understand it was the 90s and like this is the perception, but like I've been to the projects before and everybody's not in the hallway freebasing and shit. Right. Like it's like that's not what's happening. Like, it's just like this, like these are just poor people, man.
And the through line would have been more makes sense if you had like, but especially since Ruby doesn't appear to be an activist of any kind at the beginning of the movie, and so like you had opportunity if you want, to have maybe there is a little bit of activism happening. Somebody has a petition or something, and like he runs past them on his way in and they're like, hey, whatever. And then where you at least imply that there's people out here that are kind of like questioning this. Mm-hmm. But it does feel very disjointed to have like this like Batman-esque crime alley situation going on. And then like at the end of the movie, it's like you got you got the squad showing up.
Lean on me.
And I don't even really understand what they showed up to do other than to, I guess,
like, y'all suck.
Protest house. Yeah. They were almost kind of, they were actually kind of useless once they got there. Like
they were there to grab when the money went up and it's like everybody was grabbing
that money.
Yo, I got issues with that. Like I got problems with that. Like when man, like first of all, like when Fool goes back to. When Fool like goes back to the house or whatever, like it literally, I put it in the text, but I was like, why did this turn into like Home Alone basically? Like he was throwing bricks down the chimney and stuff. Like he was just like doing all this extra
even
stuff.
The framing of it is like Home Alone, where like there's that turn moment when he takes control, and it's like it was pre Home Alone, right? Though maybe, yeah, I think
maybe
90,
no,
maybe not.
Nah, I think this is after Home Alone, because Home Alone was 93, right?
So this is 91
or 91. I mean,
this
was it 91 or 93? You might be right.
Hold up.
Either way, like just the fact that like
this is after Home Alone. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Home Alone.
Yeah, maybe like either way, it's like the fact that when he goes back, like I was waiting for him to like throw some paint cans down on a string and like catch one of them like on some micro machine cars or something. They're just like,
you better come get me.
yeah, I'm up here, y'all. Like, like if you want to get me, like all right, okay. Maybe there was some inspiration for that too, creating this. Like, let's do the Black Home Alone in somebody else's house. Like, I don't know.
No, I think it is a funny, like, it felt like Wes Craven maybe like it almost like, I don't know if like maybe there were some changes while they were filming, because there's a few things in there that felt a little bit out of left field to me, which was the kind of, obviously our community is different, but that is what it is. One thing is like the grandfather, Bill Cobb's character, felt like he just came out of nowhere. It was just like it was weird that he wasn't there at the beginning. For them to sort of have him be so, not central, but like he had a decent size sort of kind of role in terms of telling him the backstory of this house, and then at the end showing up to help. And so it does feel like it was like, did y'all like decide halfway through? It was like, hey, we need like some sort of
we need
like
a wise old black man in
right.
Yeah, I like that scene where he has like those three and I know it's the 90s, but he's like, yeah, you got enough to cure cancer, pay the rent, like new cars, all like.
It's very comforting. It's very comforting. Don't take that away from me, Miles.
Yeah, I was like, how does he know it is exactly the value?
Just leave it.
It's a great moment, but it is.
It's just funny because like he was like him appraising like how much like it was worth was just funny.
He is like multi, like he's a very multi-talented, because like I didn't know he was their grandpa when I first saw the scene.
Is he supposed to be the grandpa? I assumed he was like a neighbor.
Grandpa.
Yeah, his name's like hold up.
I just thought he
Grandpa
was like a
Booker.
neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So
okay.
But so he's a grandpa who also happens to be an appraiser or like some kind of
expert on gold,
which makes sense because Fool is like a 12-year-old that for some reason has experience with like explosives, like, and understands how to like. I can't remember the line, but when he's down there, he was like, "Oh yeah, I know all about explode," or something like that. Like I forgot. And then he did something that was like completely not technical at all. He just like yanked the cord, like yanked the cables out or whatever. It was like, I thought he was gonna do something like, okay, yeah, I gotta be real precious about this and be tactical. And he just pretty much just yanked them out. Like,
yeah. Well, actually, that's a good place to pivot. So, well, sort of. We're gonna kind of go in a few places and then come back to that. So we're to a point in the show where we check in on our people of color called "You Good, Homie?" And as you have heard already, and as you've seen, if you've watched this movie, there are plenty of people of color in it. There are some central characters that I think we want to dive into a little bit. So, how did our folks do in this movie?
Well,
where do we start? Can we start with Leroy? I want to start with Leroy.
Leroy does not do too well. He thinks he's doing
dumb
well
in this movie.
Like, what does he say? I done busted this house's cherry. And then all of a sudden he's getting attacked by the Rottweiler, right?
And his strategy for like taking on the Rottweiler is like, all right, I'm gonna hide behind this sofa. You stand out there in the middle. I was like, okay. And then he completely deviated from the plan immediately because he came up like, where you at? Like, yo, this was your plan. Like, what you talking about?
Leroy
and
did
then
not
when the
have his
dog
shit
went
together.
back there and got him, it was pretty much like,
it was such a weird moment.
Like, yeah, it was so strange.
Because even Fool looked like he didn't know what the plan was because he's just sitting there and he's just like,
you want me to just stand here?
And then he's like, it was actually weirdly realistic because it reminded me of like when we was kids and you try to hide from somebody, but you don't know if they came in the room yet or not, so you go check and then you get busted. Like, it was just that, but in a life or death situation.
And then he was looking through that. I don't know what that was. Him looking through the thing in the wall and
that, like, I feel like it's a dog door. Like he has his head inside of a dog door
For
like,
a weird long
doesn't
amount
it look
of
like
time.
that?
Yeah,
like he's just on the floor with his
listening.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, he's not he on every level fails. Leroy
And it's
does.
weird because like Fool kind of looks up to him. Like there's that scene in the van where he's like, what did Fool say? Like he's something like we're in this together, something like that. And
he's like, oh, like, like Spencer's gonna, and again, like Spencer's fucking stealing shit. And then he's like, he's gonna cut me out or whatever. And Fool's like, oh, he's gonna cut us out, like, cause I'm in this with you. And he looks at him and he's like, you something else, Fool, or something.
And then he proceeds to be like, continue to be super
asshole.
dickish to Fool, like after that. And it was like weird because I was like, oh, cool. They've kind of had a bond. And then he like leaves him to die in the hallway. And it's like,
yeah, there's no room in here. I'm like, what the fuck?
Bunch home.
Yeah, like what? Yeah, wow. He's like, his character is like not likable at all in this movie. Like, it's just like his decision. I mean, even when they go to kind of, scope out this place to see, what's there, he's just so thirsty and eager to like go in there. And like the guy that you sent in there went in there, and like I would at least, okay, maybe he is in there stealing stuff, right? Maybe he is in there getting stuff for himself. Okay, why don't you just wait for him to come out and just shake him down? Like, yo, check his pocket. Like, yo, man, pocket check. Like, I mean, like, what did you find in there?
He's in there hiding stuff for later. Like, why would he be doing that?
To go back in and get, yo, let's go in and get his ass. Like, I was like, I mean, like, I just don't understand. Like, he was just so thirsty to like deviate from the plan and like go in there to where it's like, yo, why are you even listening to this dude? Because he's completely like all like his plans. He has no plans. He's just kind of like goes like, even when they're breaking in and they're hearing all these sounds that don't sound normal at all. And he's like, man, maybe we should just get out of here.
Oh, and it's good to know rich people have rats too. I'm like, get the fuck out of there. There's shit in the walls. Run. Like, there's no reason to be there.
I mean, because if these, like my main thing that would like throw me off too is like, if these people are, because these people are rich, and for them to be rich, that house is not kept up well at all. Like, it looks terrible. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
I'm like,
absolute red flags. All those dead flies. Like that's the point of it. It's like decay and death. And it's just like, what's funny is like, I've lived in neighborhoods like that where like, I lived in a neighborhood where like almost every house in the neighborhood was on an acre of land. And so you had people there who had been there for like generationally, like the house had passed on. And there's just like, and you think like, oh, people that live up and wherever are rich. And it's like, yeah, but they're fucking nasty. There's like, dead ass, like rusted out cars in the yard and like weird barrels that are like have a weird like shit in them.
Waste and
yeah, like there's all this shit. Like there's like a toilet in the front yard. And then really like I think one of the things that Wes Craven is doing with this movie is like pointing to the decay and the like disgustingness of like inherited generational wealth and like what that could potentially look like. And in this circumstance, it's disgusting. It's like incestuous and violent, and motherfuckers eating people. Like, can we talk about that? Like, that guy eats people. Like, he's eating Spencer or like Leroy or something. He's hanging upside down and there's like blood on his mouth, and they don't ever, it's never even, there's a fucking rib cage. Like in that opening scene, there's a fucking rib cage on the plate, like a full ass human rib cage. And like no one ever talks about the fact that he's eating people. Like it's just like it's disgusting.
It's such a throwaway thing. Like it just kind of happens and they move on.
He's like, damn, buckshot, and there's the fucking pellets on the plate, like of the rib cage of whoever he's eating. And it's just like I think I think that's part of the movie, and maybe it doesn't get developed out as much as it should, but like there's like this level of like decay and disgust and like ruin and desecration and corruption that are tied to these people.
Which is interesting because like you would think there would be like more of a juxtaposition to like what we see like in the, underprivileged neighborhood where people don't have anything and it's the same thing. It's decayed. It's dirty. Like it's just filth. And you go on the other side of town where the more privileged the slumlords live, and they live pretty much in the same filth. It's just in a bigger pile of filth, basically.
Yep.
And I mean, they're crazy, like on top of it. So it's not even like they live a better life necessarily. Like,
No, and I think that's the idea, is that like this shit corrupts everything. Like there's nothing good about it. Like nobody's shining. Like everybody's gross and dirty and down in the dirt, you know?
Well, that is interesting. So like in a to technically stay within the context of Are You Good, Homie, I'm going to talk about our Grandpa
Sorry, Chris.
Booker. Well, I'm going to talk about Grandpa Booker in the sense that, of course, he survives. Yeah. Okay, great. But his story about the Robesons is, it's very hand-wavy. Like, it's like, I expected to get something from it because like that's that moment where you kind of, as a viewer, are like, oh, okay, cool, I'm about to find out what's up. And he's just like, they are super greedy, and greed makes you crazy. It's like
crazy and greedy,
right?
And
it's like
they crazy as hell.
Which, to be fair, it makes sense that he doesn't actually know what's going on with them. Like if he did, that'd be kind of weird. But it's just funny because it's like you set this up as some kind of exposition scene. It's like all you got is like, yeah, you shouldn't have went through that house. They crazy. Thanks, Grandpa.
They mad and crazy.
They've literally been firing shots at me all day. So
wearing a gimp suit while fucking trying to shoot me with a shotgun. Like, thanks, Grandpa. I didn't realize they were crazy.
Thanks, Grandpa.
With this fucking gimp suit.
All right, so let's talk about Ruby for a second too before we get to Fool.
Turning tricks on the what does Leroy say?
Like
he's like, and you turning trick, and I'm like, oh shit, what's going on here?
Yeah, Ruby is such an undeveloped character. Like, I feel like she is. So we Jordan Peele is supposed to be remaking this.
I heard.
And in my head, as I think about this, I think about the character Ruby, and I feel like that might be where he gets creative, is because like she is such a non-character. Like she's just whatever the scene needs her to be. Like it's like at the beginning she's the one reading the tarot cards, right? So she's reading the tarot cards, but then all of a sudden she's in there with the mom, and then like and then it's mentioned that she has the kids.
Ruby got babies.
Yeah. And then like, but he knows her, and it's implied maybe they have some kind of relationship, but then it's hard to tell what that is.
And then he says something about like I think he's referring to like her baby's fathers. Cause he's like, what's his face? He's in there for what? And Washington or something.
Yeah,
like there's like a couple
off.
of like he's sort of like he's talking shit to her for like. So I'm like, well, what are you doing there? Like, or like I don't know. I don't know what the relationship is.
Yeah, he's just
like,
a dick,
why why is that her background?
Right. She got a whole bunch of baby daddies, and then she's also turning tricks, and that's a whole thing. And obviously, girl in the hood. That's what it's like. Wes Craven was like, what do you hear about black girls in the hood? Let's have all those things be Ruby. And then like, at the end, she's like helping. She's obviously helping Fool, but like so it's like that's the part that's weird too, is like I guess she's genuinely inciting a community action, but she's also using it as a diversion for him. But it's like, dang, she can mobilize people. Like, so then her whole character seems different all of a sudden.
And there's that weird like bond that she forms with Alice, right? Like. There's like a weird little bond that happens, and like she could have been so cool as a character, and she's so wasted because the actress is good. Like she's she's good in that role.
She plays the 5 characters that Ruby is very well. Because I remember I was actually like halfway through watching it, and I was about to text y'all and be like, Ruby's the most chill character to be in the situation she's in ever, and then at the end suddenly she's this firecracker, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well. It's just
turns into her full Cardi B self at the end.
Her metamorphosis. So all right, so and then there's Fool. Obviously he's I think he's homie number 1. who obviously is like the protagonist and the hero of the movie, and has some great moments, some great one-liners. So that's why the hood ain't got no money. Was that what he said or something?
Yeah.
Your mama sleeps with cats. That's my favorite.
He's great. And I actually really like his. I don't know. It's a little. I don't know. I really like his relationship with Alice. And like,
I do too.
Yeah. They have really good chemistry, and there's believability in the fact that she sort of has this character evolution while seeing him and connecting with him and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I got no complaints about Fool. He's a really good character. There are a lot of goofy movie things about what's going on, but overall,
goofy movie things
For sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. And like you said, like he's like we all wanted to be that kid. Like absolutely 100% wanted to be Fool. Like in and as a girl, like and he's almost exactly my age, right? Like so this is like I'm like I want like that's what I want to happen to me. Like I want to be in a house with weird zombie people. No, but no, and he's great, and he's resourceful, right? He's resourceful. He's smart. Like we find out he wants to be a doctor. I don't know. That's never really super fleshed out, but like he has these aspirations of being a doctor. He comes up with solutions. He cares about his mom. Like he's just a great little character, and what in I think generally like an era where we generally have a dearth of positive like black male characters, especially like ones being the protagonist of their own movie, right? So he's great, and he's an important character, and this is an important movie I think for that reason.
And I feel like you can empathize with him over like Ving Rhames' character because I mean, like Fool doesn't really want to do any of the stuff that he's being asked to do. Like I mean, when we see him, he's caring for his mom. He's not like breaking into anybody's. We never really see him do anything that he shouldn't be doing until, you know, he has no choice. Which I think like is something that like the perspective of people that like have never grown up like poor and like, you know, in that environment, and it's very judgy outside of, you know, if you live outside of that realm where you say, you know, these people are just animals or criminals or whatever. But Fool is like the perfect example of somebody who is not really trying to do anything bad. He doesn't really want to hurt anybody. He's not trying to like, you know, do things that he doesn't have to do. But in the circumstance that he's in, what else is he supposed to do, really? Where Ving Rhames is like, what are you doing? Like, yo, you just like looking like to be up to no good. You probably was the one that robbed that store, like they was talking about earlier. Like you just,
I think
they got like Mac. Yeah, they got like costume. Like I was laughing at how many costumes they had like in the van. Yeah, like the kid Cub Scout costume, which is like super sketchy to have. And
it was a legit one.
Yeah, it was like what? But yeah, like you can empathize with Fool because, like I said, it's what happens when it's like, yo, what when you have no other options. What do you? Yeah,
right. Like he has loyalty to people.
Loyal.
Like right, and that's what like Ving Rhames, like when he's like, oh, Spencer's in there trying to steal shit or whatever, and he's like, he's trying to steal shit. And that's like, and it's like he even remarks, even as shitty as he is as a person, like sees that about Fool, like that he has these loyalties to the people that he's cares about, like his family and stuff, and especially his mom and his sister.
Even when he goes back, he doesn't really go back to get the rest of the gold or money.
He goes back for Alice.
He goes back for Alice, like to save her. And I mean, he ends up freeing, you know, all of the other people that are there. The little like 3 or 4 coins that he has, he's like, all right, well, that's enough for my mom to get her surgery and we can pay our rent. According to grandfather,
grandpa, whoever,
grandpa, whatever. Yeah. According to him. And that's all he needed. He wasn't there out of greed to go, you know, steal these people's things. He didn't really care about that. Like he was actually just still trying to do the right thing. Like when when it all came down to it, it was like, yeah, he doesn't really care about for him, he just wants
Wait a minute. Isn't that what the song "Do the Right Thing"?
Oh yeah, I always remember that song like as a kid. Like it's so like 90s. Like,
Totally.
I just like a part of me was just like, yo, like this movie ends with like the most 90s sounding song with black people in the streets, like celebrating money coming out. Just like, oh my god, this is terrible.
The juxtaposition of the Stairmaster and them like being there too.
Yeah.
It was just so weird with that music set playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like walking out, and my
Guess
other
I'm gonna
issue
go
was like,
get a date now. You know, like what are they gonna do? I don't know. Like,
That was so funny too. There's girls out there.
get a tan.
yeah, he did say that. He was like, man, go out there and get you some girls. Like, I don't think so. Like once he walked outside, that would have been funny if like once they got outside, they like turned back to normal, like in an instant.
They just start looking like
They just start looking normal,
like
as
Michael
hell,
J. Fox or something. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
They need some sun. They need some
Like the
vitamin
effects
D in
started to
there.
wear off or whatever from the
immediately.
basement.
Or a girl. I thought you were gonna say when they come out looking like they look, and there's just girls that just are like looking at them, just
Like, hey,
like damn, okay, damn monster man or whatever. They got some sexy ass monsters up in there.
damn monster man.
with some lustrous fucking hair, just lustrous.
That's why Tawny watched that movie over and over again secretly. She was like, "Damn, monster man!
Damn monster man, coming out there with your
Damn.
little sweater on, with your little sweater and your feathered hair." Like it's crazy because like they're walking out, and I get that these people are deprived, they don't have money, but nobody has issues with monsters walking out the house. Like they all just celebrating, like, yeah, do the right thing, hell yeah, like your money's coming down. And it's just like whole ass monsters walking out the house. Like, they just like looking around and nobody's like saying anything. Like
somebody was just like, "Wait, what is that?"
wait, well, hold on, what's up with my man right there? Hey, hold on, fam. Like, what's up with buddy right there?
What's wrong with him?
There got to be at least one person. That's where you need Ice Cube at right there. Where you need Ice Cube.
What's that?
cast in this.
Ugh, quit playing.
Stop playing.
Oh man.
Oh my god. Okay. So we talked about Fool and his journey, and I think I wanted to end that segment with Fool because he sort of exemplifies the rule, which we took a while to come to, but I'll let Miles share what the rule is, since like he shared it, and then we like talked about 1,000 other things, and then like came on our own to the conclusion that he originally said, which is that the rule for this movie is
Got to be resourceful, man. Like, just be resourceful as hell. Like, Fool, the entire movie, he is thinking in the moment, like, quick on his feet. Like, in every part of that movie, like, he's figuring out how to evade the situation. Like, where, I don't know how Spencer got, but Spencer didn't have that. And Ving Rhames' character, I don't know what he was doing, but Fool like weasels his way out of every situation. Like he's so crafty the entire time in the movie. He's crafty as hell. Like
he beats the dog. He jumps up, right? Like he jumps up, tricks the dog. Like he fucking uses the electrocution like to his advantage. Like every single thing he does is just like slapped together from his like pure just inventiveness.
Even he makes a mental note of when he's on the roof to remember from earlier that the pool is right here
right there
under this like part is like, yo, he's snapping, because like I wasn't even thinking about that as a kid, but for him, like he's like, yo, I remember this is right where, you know, that pool of water is. Maybe it's deep enough, and for him to take the risk is like, yo, you got heart. Like, and I mean he did have heart too, because he was like, the dog was coming. He was like, nah, man, I'm not running no more or whatever. And
I like that moment.
Like, I respected that. Like that he was like, listen, like if I'm in here and if I'm gonna be in here, then I'm gonna fight. Like I'm gonna just figure out ways to, you know, navigate
and he
this
tricks
house.
He tricks them into killing the dog.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't love a dog death, but like that dog, you know, like he like that's and he tricks them in. He tricks them later and to where he can drop the brick on their face. Like he tricks them into thinking he shot. Everything is like he's one step ahead of some people who are used to being one step ahead of everybody all the time. Even with the recording, right? Like he uses that ruse of calling the police or calling child services or whatever. He knows that they're going to weasel out of that. Like there's no reality in which like somehow like they get called on like abusing their, but he uses that. And even when to get in, and even when you think they've got him, he's still ahead. Like he's still he like they have the recording playing or whatever, and like they're luring him, but it doesn't work. You know, he's the quickest on his feet. Absolutely.
Yeah. And he takes like things that he like we didn't really talk much about Roach, but like things that he learned from Roach, like he uses that later on. Like now he understands like how the house works, where he knows there's places that he can go, and he uses that sort of mental like just reference of like, okay, I know I can go here, I know I can get out if I go through here, I know how to get down to the cellar, I know I can appeal to the people in the cellar and use them as allies because we can overrun them because there's a lot more of them down. There's a lot of them down there, and he kind of uses them in his, you know, coming back to break out Alice. Like he uses that as an advantage. Like we have numbers now because like I appealed to them when I was there. Like, dude, you could get out of here. Like, and there's some sense of humanity left in them because they understand the concept of leaving this place and there being a life outside of there. So he uses that to his advantage, and it's like, this dude is, I mean, he's the smartest I mean, his name is Fool, ironically, but he's like the smartest person, like, you know.
That, and then they say that, like, you're not the stupid, it's not the stupid kind, it's just the inexperienced, right? Like he has all these experiences in front of him, and he's, it's such a great name for him because the Fool is, the Fool has not been hardened by life yet and is still open to experience.
Lacks
you know, and
wisdom.
it absolutely.
Yeah. And I love the how the tarot card kind of plays out in that he chooses to go back into the fire and kind of burn. You know, that's him, and his maturity comes in and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to draw a parallel that I thought about while y'all were talking. I'm gonna bring Star Wars into this because I always need to do that. You know, there's probably a modern context. I was modern, like this movie's not modern, but like a current, you know, 2021 context where you play this movie for some people and they would call Fool a Mary Sue because he can do so many things. Like he's just so like he knows all this stuff and he hasn't had training, which is which is the context for which people criticize the character Rey.
But he did have training with explosives.
But here's right. He did, weirdly enough. And so that's one of those things where you're like, how convenient. He can do this, he can do that. But I'll say the same thing. This movie's a good example. Like, look at where Fool is growing up combined with his own intelligence. Like, he's in a place where he's clearly, like, you literally got dogs fighting right outside your room, like your apartment. Like, he's grown up in this. And therefore, you can presume as a viewer that there's a certain resourcefulness that he has acquired anyway, just from having to survive and live in this environment. Just like
and take
Rey.
care of, like, he takes care of people. Like he takes care of his kids.
It's like she grew up in the hood, the Star Wars hood. Come on, people.
Well, it's because she's a girl. Like she can't do all of this stuff because she's a girl. Girls can't do all of that. Like without training. And then if she did have training, they'd have a problem with it.
Right.
Like, I mean, it makes sense though. Like you said, like if you grow up in certain circumstances, there's stuff that people that are underprivileged, like while it's, you know, it's difficult and it's it's a disadvantage in many ways to grow up that way. There are certain life advantages that you have over someone who hasn't experienced anything. I mean, you see it now, like people that are super privileged go through like the most basic shit and they fall apart. And a lot of, people like I grew up poor, like we didn't have a lot. And like it's easier for me to manage situations because this is not the end of the world to me. This is just like, well, I mean, yeah, I've been here before. Like, this is not, and even if I haven't been exactly in this situation, I have something to draw from because I've been in a similar situation where I had to figure something out. And if you've never been there before, it's like, yeah, this might seem like impossible. Nobody could do that in the moment. It's like, man, you ain't never not had nothing to eat at your crib and had to figure out something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you figure it out. Like, you find out ways to, make it work. Like, in any type of way. It's like, it's that line in Friday where where Smokey's mom gives him the money and is like, man, this ain't enough. It's like, make it enough. And that's sort of the concept of what it is to grow up underprivileged, is like, make it work some type of way. Like you don't really have a choice, but if you want to survive, you don't have a choice but to do all of this stuff. Like, and he didn't want to die. And it's like, there's something to say about the will to want to live to where it's like, yo, okay, it might be unrealistic, but I'm not dying. Like, I'm doing everything I could possibly do to, get out of the situation. So
facts.
I think that, like, I think him growing up where he grew up lends itself to, him being able to get out of the situation for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is well, I think we covered it. This movie is like such a good, they call it a horror comedy. And it's funny because it's got so much commentary in it that really, like, that's where the humor's at to me. And it just juggles those things so well. And I'm so glad. Like, it's so funny. I was just thinking, like, it's so surprising to me that our first Wes Craven movie was The People Under the Stairs. We've been talking about doing Nightmare on Elm Street for the longest. We ended up doing People Under the Stairs, but I'm kind of glad we did. Like,
this movie is pure fun. Like, it's so fun.
Yeah,
like, it's such a fun movie.
And I'm hype. I didn't even know about the remake. Like, Chris, you said that. I didn't even know that Jordan Peele was. I'm hype about that because I feel like there's a lot of potential for this story to be, like, to fill in some of the stuff that I watch now. I'm like, that's ridiculous, or that's stupid, or, from the eyes of someone who, like somebody black should tell this story. I feel like, just because maybe they could better understand, like, the dynamic of, like, the black people in the story.
Nuances,
I think they're going to be, whatever happens, I think they're going to be hard pressed to find villains that are as good as these two. I don't
know if you can top that. I'm not sure if you can top those.
I don't know if anybody tops Wendy Roby. She's fucking awesome.
I guarantee you, I have a strong feeling that it'll be Elizabeth Moss playing that role. Mark my words. Mark my words.
Okay.
I could see that. I mean, I think she could body that. Like, or I mean, you could go.
I mean, see that.
You know what? What I'll say is, I won't even say that. There's definitely some people you could find that could body those roles. They just probably maybe wouldn't play it exactly the same. I don't think you should play it the exact same way that they played it. It should be.
I mean, the easy choice if you want that is Julia Roberts, because, like, I kept thinking, like, this is. Oh,
I could totally see her. Like, yeah.
But I think if you're looking for a new take on it, Jordan Peele, and he used Elizabeth Moss in Us. And it's like that's my prediction, is that what we'll see.
Or you go get Sarah Paulson or something, like, where like she would body that. I feel like
she kind of did that in Run. Did y'all see Run?
I did. I actually enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I dug it.
Watch Run, Tawny.
Okay,
it's a good one. All right, well, I think that's it. We did it. The People Under the Stairs. Our first Wes Craven movie, won't be the last. But this was fun, y'all. If you really enjoyed this show, follow us, as I always say, on Instagram, 2BXM Podcast. We post all kinds of good stuff there. We're starting to post clips from the show, so we'll give you some ideas of what's going up or what just went up, or keep you in the loop that way. Otherwise, subscribe here on YouTube or on Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to this right now. This is Survivor's Ed, How to Not Die First in a Horror Movie, with 2 blacks and a Mexican. Stay safe.